everyone. Today we have our another new episode and we will discuss on AI and the future of work. We have our world famous speaker, Mr. David Smith, Mr. Rob, Mr. Donald, and Dr. Tamanna. First, I would like to give chance, Mr. David Smith, what you want to discuss about AI and the future of work.
Well, thank you so much, Sharif. AI, the advancement in data science is such an important topic that it touches everything in our lives today, and particularly as we look at how AI has an influence in the future of work, it's particularly dramatic because we're going to see AI uh, over time actually change the makeup of many professions, particularly areas that have very repeated data requirements, like in law, accounting, and others like that. But in recent years, it's very interesting because AI has evolved from a niche technology doing very explicit tasks and things into a tool that is used across many different industries and is actually shaping the future of many of these industries. It has the ability to process very mass amounts of data and really be able to ingest more information than a human could normally do. It's able to learn from patterns very well, and it's being able to really do a fantastic job of taking historical views of what has happened and using those to help shape what is happening today. But AI really began back in the mid 20th century, and where we saw some of it. The foundation is really rooted in the early 1950s. And the term AI was first used in the mid 50s at a conference at Dartmouth that was really groundbreaking. And you begin to see that go on. I was fortunate to have been an executive at the MCC Consortia, which was made up of all of the United States leading computer companies. And one of our feature programs was in artificial intelligence. And Doug Lynette, who was one of the pioneers in the advancement of AI, who was trying to develop a common sense AI, was one of the leads there that really set my understanding of how AI could be used. But if you see AI being used in all different areas, for example, in healthcare, in diagnosing diseases, in medical imaging, you see it in manufacturing, you see it in finance. The program yesterday was about AI in the financial industry. Tremendously there. Manufacturing, we're seeing AI in transportation. I live not far from the team that's writing most of the autonomous software code for Tesla, and that's just advancing so fast. But really, AI is reshaping job roles, creating new opportunities, and becoming a tool that can assist you in finding work. It can be one in helping you do your work more efficiently. And yeah, it's creating a lot of new jobs too, roles like AI trainers, AI ethics officers, AI uh, people who are really looking at the how AI can enhance the human workflow experience and supplement data scientists and others. But it's really changing how traditional roles are evolving. It highlights in the workforce the tremendous importance for lifelong learning, for continuous learning. It helps you understand how adapting to new skills is really paramount to what you're doing. And AI is actually, as I look at the workforce, it's allowing many workers to really emphasize the soft skills of them as humans, things like creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence. These are really growing skills in the workforce that are necessary, as they are skills that a machine learning based AI really lack. So one of the key things, Sharif, as you're doing this, is to look at how you can upskill yourself and really prepare yourself for the AI tools that are going to be used in your individual roles, in your industries. And let's not forget the power of AI to help you prepare for the workforce and to actually go and seek employment by using AI tools, because the companies are using AI tools to screen you as well. So Sharif, that might be a good introduction. You're muted.
Mr. Rob, what you want to discuss about AI and the future of work?
Well, as it comes out, I just came back from Lenovo's conference, which was all about AI and the future of work. And previous to this, a couple of weeks ago, I was at the HP event, also AI and the future of work. Pretty much everything I'm seeing right now has to do with AI and the future of work. The issue, of course, we've got at the moment is about 80% of the AI implementations are currently failing. For a number of reasons. Misset expectations are the big ones, but it's the big one. But the other big one is the companies that are deploying it are learning about the problem. I mean, learning about the technology as the people that are buying it are learning about the technology, and that means that we're getting a lot of misapplication of that technology, and we're trying to get it to do things that it's not yet capable of doing, or using models that haven't been properly trained up to do the tasks that they've been slated for. So that's been problematic. But we're talking about the future, and most of this will get worked out in the next 5 years. And as they say, 20% of the implementations are working and are performant. So it doesn't mean that the AI is incapable of doing jobs. It just requires a certain level of expertise to deploy it, and the models have to be properly trained in order to be performant. So what we're looking at right now is kind of a misstep, I think, with the initial implementation of AI. AI was focused on creation initially. A lot of the AI is focused on creation. DALL-E, Co-Creator from Microsoft, and a few others, Gemini. They're creators. In some cases, they're visual creators. They can create pictures by description. In other cases, they can create text by description. And as we've seen, the models, as they've been trained with both real and fictional information, which has caused the models to become somewhat corrupted. And also the AIs, because they are somewhat creative, they will fill gaps in information with their own creations, which means we call it hallucinations. And they create facts out of thin air, and which means they're not facts. It's another term for it would be fake news. But they're very creative. And the screwy thing is what we like to do is we like to create. What AI should be doing and was initially supposed to be slated to doing, at least using the IBM model, was to do the things we don't like doing, do things that people are inefficient at doing. So if we're talking about writing, you'd want them to do the editing, which is much less, at least for writers, it's much less enjoyable than editing is. Yet with AI now, we're turning all the writers into editors, which isn't very interesting to them. And we're also seeing a nasty tendency to lay off people in the face of AI, with the idea of be able to get their jobs done by artificial intelligence, which kind of sort of works. I mean, the folks that did it didn't crater, but on the other hand, I would argue that the writing that the AIs are turning out isn't great, and it is requiring quite a bit of editing. We just saw Dell lay off, for instance, 12,500 people in advance of AI, which doesn't make a ton of sense at this phase. So as we look at the future of work, what we're talking about, companies like Lenovo are now talking about, because they and IBM are really solidly on we shouldn't be using AI to replace people. We should be using it to enhance people. And what we're seeing is, okay, the AI can summarize your emails for you, can point out the things you need to get to immediately, can schedule events, can manage trips and travel. Its financial capability is fairly significant at the moment. Sales capability, IBM did a big trial with one of the large insurance companies, I think it was Geico, and they opened up a specific class of insurance, and instead of using human telecenters, they used AI, and the close rates went up 80%. And it was so compelling that we had recordings of guys seemingly trying to either flirt with or apparently trying to ask the AI out, showing that it could perform well. And if you ever saw an earlier video of Watson when it did the debate, while it lost the debate on points, which was really quite interesting because that was a very subjective ruling. I would have ruled differently had I been the judge. But it was much more personable. The human debater was very robotic, hard on the facts. The Watson was telling jokes. It was speaking in a woman's voice. It sounded like a woman. Where the guy that was speaking kind of sounded like, if you didn't see him standing there, you would have thought he was the robot. And so it kind of showcased the capabilities that we have. But recognize that currently we're only talking about generative AI, which isn't AGI by any stretch of the imagination. And the end result is, I think a lot of folks think they're getting AGI. Instead, they're getting generative AI, and they're very different technologies. But if we talk about the future, back to the future and the underlying concept, what AI is supposed to do in the future is it's supposed to help you be more efficient. It's to point you to things that are critical, to help you avoid mistakes. David brought out autonomous driving. That's part of AI, but AI also rolls into robotics from autonomous driving. Autonomous vehicles are going to probably be the initial largest number of autonomous robotics in existence until personal robotics pop up. Elon Musk was showcasing his robots the other day, but be aware that was kind of smoke and mirrors. Those robots were teleoperated. That it wasn't working. He was doing the fake it until he makes it thing, and it backfired on him badly. But it does showcase what we can do. We'll have AI doing a lot of the tasks that are dangerous. We'll have AI doing a lot of the tasks that aren't enjoyable. And unfortunately, we have a lot of people that are developing AI to do employee replacement. And it really is going to come down to where we're able to focus the industry. I'm personally very concerned that we're focusing it far too much on employee replacement and not focusing it enough on employee enhancement. One of the interesting demonstrations that Lenovo provided was somebody with advanced Parkinson's disease, where they'd lost full mobility, that they could move their eyes, they could no longer speak, and they could no longer move or function their body. Yet the woman that was demonstrated was able to converse with the audience using her eyes and artificial intelligence. It made it look like she was doing it kind of at the same speed she wasn't. It was happening in batch, because she was using her eyes to spell out the words. And then AI once it figured out what she wanted to say, it was finishing the sentences, and then she could approve it. And that sped up her performance quite a bit. Over time, that will advance even farther. But one of the really interesting aspects of AI is being able to use it for disabled people to allow them to bridge themselves into jobs that would otherwise only be done by people that were fully functional, or much more functional than they are. And that was at the core of this demonstration. In fact, a number of people that have talked about AI as applied to prosthetics, for being able to move limbs, to the example that I just gave with Parkinson's, showcases that it can be very performant in helping people that currently are not functional become functional and capable of contributing. Again, it's if you ever get a chance to see some of the videos, they're worth watching, because it's life-changing for the people that are engaged. And we've had similar things happening with AI and vision loss, where the AIs are able to interpret what's in front of them and provide them with guidance far better than they could with a cane or some of the other technologies that we've seen in the past. So it's advancing. My hope is we focus much more on making us more efficient, more effective, and for those of us that are disabled, make us less disabled in terms of our operations and capabilities. And there certainly may be a future where, with robotics and teleoperation, that we'll be able to have people be fully functional in terms of their capabilities, even though their body is no longer responding to them. But the future of AI will be a combination of those things. You'll have AIs replacing people, AIs enhancing people, AIs creating bridges. Another example with regard to AI use, which we had on this program a few months back, was the use of AI to train up doctors with training times that moved from, I think it was 3 years was the example, to something like a month and a half, and in some cases, a number of weeks. They were able to spin up a particular proficiency that had previously taken years to spin up, and they were effective in performance. So AI has a number of promising futures in front of it, and some troubling ones. And my hope is we can get the industry to focus more on the promising side of this than the troubling side. But there's revenue on both sides, and unfortunately, companies chase the revenue. So the future of AI for work is a little foggy at the moment, but we have the opportunity to better direct it to the things we need it to do, and avoid some of the things that would be unfortunate if they happened. That's it for my opening.
Thank you. Mr. Donald, what you want to discuss about this AI, the future of work?
Well, I want to make sure that everybody understands that what large language models do. And what they basically do is they digest as much data as can possibly be put into them. And so, of course, Google has everything that you can Google, so they can use that as input. And based on that, what they create, they have a sentence and they leave a word out of the sentence. And then it guesses what word is most likely to go there and then matches it to what they have. And after a while, instead of just guessing a word, they start guessing a phrase. And then after a while, they start guessing an entire sentence. And then after a while, it starts guessing an entire paragraph. So, and it just can do this, make many, many guesses in a very, very short period of time. And so what you're getting is not intelligence at all in any way. It's just matching. It's a sophisticated way of matching patterns. So what David was saying about creativity and things like that, I'm just reading a book on Einstein, and all of the things all of the formulas and everything that Einstein used had been around, like the Lorentz transformations, I was thinking of Maxwell, what Maxwell did, and these various. There was some understanding of these things, but he took the exact same thing that everybody else was looking at, and he reinterpreted it in a different way. He looked at it in a different way, and he basically used the same equations. He just used them in a different way. And that kind of thing is exactly the kind of thing that if all you're doing is looking at everything that's happened in the past and making guesses based on what everyone else has done, you're going to start winding up. You're not going to take that next step to be able to reinterpret things in the way that Einstein did and to create the kind of breakthroughs that he managed to have. So there's limitations of the software itself. So it's just reasonable to understand what it does is it's not thinking, it's just finding the most likely patterns that would fit into the context that you're asking about. Now, that being said, we're talking about the future of work. And I read something, and I didn't have time to find it again this morning, that they are projecting that there's going to be more jobs, that, we're going to lose a certain amount of jobs because of artificial intelligence, but there's actually going to be more jobs that are made. And to put that in a frame that's understandable, throughout history, there's been many industrial revolutions. So there was the inventing of the spinning mill, and people were so upset that the spinning mill was going to put people out of work that they actually attacked them and were trying to destroy them at one point. The Ned Ludd and his gang of Luddites tried to do that. And so the projection was that all these people would lose their jobs. But what actually wound up happening is that they managed to manufacture all this new stuff. And since they were making more stuff, they needed more cotton and blah, blah, blah. And it just turned into a huge industry. But what's important to understand is that sitting there at that point in time where those spinning mills were invented, no one could, what actually happened is not something that anybody could guess. And another example of that certainly happened in my lifetime is when cell phones came along. And when cell phones were first here, they were flip phones commonly, sort of like on Star Trek, where you flipped open the phone. Nobody really guessed at the time that they would turn into these little mini computers that are far more powerful than the computers I was using in college. And all of the things that have come from that. When I was a kid, I think even today it's a popular show is Star Trek. And in Star Trek, they had these things that they would put in their ear where somebody would talk in any language and you'd be able to talk back and you'd be able to understand each other. Well, those exist now. I mean, you can buy them for like $30 on the TikTok shop. I mean, but who would have thought that this, because of the cell phone, that was what's going to happen? And right now, if you'll notice that there's many apps that are making the prompts. So when you're using ChatGPT or any of the others, one of the tricks is to be able to ask the question in a way that gets you an answer that's useful. And people actually make good money being experts at doing these prompts. So what people have been doing is they've been taking some narrow focused area like writing resumes and creating prompts that are extremely good for that particular purpose. And then they package it into an app and then they sell that. So this is just one example of something where the artificial intelligence, the large language models are creating new jobs and new opportunities. And I believe that sitting right here, right now, where we are, we're kind of in the same position as the people who first saw the spinning mills. We didn't know when we first saw cell phones. We can't even really guess what's going to wind up happening. And I like that. I think that's really cool. That's really exciting. So I think that the thing to do is keep your ear to the ground. And I think what Rob was saying about how 80% of the things are failing, it's because, they're trying to solve problems in ways they already know how to solve problems. They're trying to apply the AI things to problems that they've had for a long time, and apply it in a way that it's a solution that's the same as solutions that they've had in the past. But I think what's happening and what's going to continue to happen is that we're going to start seeing totally new and different ways of looking at things. And so I think that's pretty cool. And what is it that you can do to personally so that you can be in touch with that? Keep your eyes and ears open and don't look in the corporations necessarily. Don't look at IBM and things like that, because corporations exist to prevent change. I mean, they're not the place where you're going to see the innovation. The innovation, you're probably more likely to see it in the TikTok shop than you are from IBM. So that's, I think, an important thing for the future of work.
Thank you. Dr. Tamanna, what do you want to discuss?
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, I like to say that automation and artificial intelligence are transforming businesses as well as they're contributing to economic growth via contribution to productivity. They will also address moonshot societal challenges in areas from health to climate change. But here I would like to specifically mention that, there are certain things which AI would find it difficult to do. So, for example, that there are certain things which a human mind itself can do. So, for example, if we look at the whole concept of philosophy, how humans think to a particular situation would be very different. So the workforce, the professors who are, who are competent to deal with AI can take help from AI and sort of try and make a proper way out of the whole structure of philosophy. Then, the whole concept of law, jurisprudence. Now, jurisprudence is something which is extremely important for present world. So, from the 1880s itself, we had a lot of work going on, Bentham, Mill, etc., who were working on jurisprudence. So, in law itself, to shorten the length, judges being able to read the cases easily, and providing with right kind of what do you say right kind of judgments with the help of AI would be a major help. But the fact is that these jobs require human beings to function. So we can't say that AI would be able to replace them. It's amazingly good because there are certain things which AI can do. So, for example, accelerating progress in AI and automation is creating opportunities for businesses, economy, and society. So, beyond traditional industrial automation and advanced robots, new generation of more capable autonomous systems are appearing in environments ranging from autonomous vehicles on roads to automatic checkout in grocery stores. So it's everywhere now. And you know, I mean, developed world has still been able to use it in many places, but in developing world, it's still we are still slightly far off from real applicability of um, uh, AIs. And India, for example, we have made strides in this realm, but we need to do much more because there are being agrarian society, we need to have we have to see where we can use AIs, and those areas should be of basic focus to the state in our in developing worlds. So for example, most of this if you look at Africa, for example, and many other countries, which face the problems of militias and terrorists, so probably AI could help the government to trace these kind of nasty and brutish people, like who are indulging into wrongful acts, and that's a huge problem. So I guess what we need to do is, focus on areas where we need AI. So, we have many of our countries in South Asia face the problem of farmer suicides, because we do not have, that kind of reflexibility to focus on providing the right kind of fertilizer, for example, etc. So AI, if taught to the farmers, because most of them are illiterate, that's a problem. But there is a challenge. So the government has to teach these particular inputs so that everybody knows which fertilizer or which windmill or which of these instruments need to be used in um, in the whole farming sector. So I guess that's the whole thing. And it has an immense possibility in India, for example, to accelerate business. And we have some business groups which are extremely rich while others are not. So we have to help most of the businesses to do well so that our economy improves. So yeah, and the challenges remain before these technologies can live up to their potential for good of economy and society as well. So it's as Rob was also talking about disability, that's also one of my concerns. And so I mean that would be a major help. And developing world is still looking for solutions to developing right kind of machines for disability. And still people who are they're like people who are poor and do not have so much of access to technology. Rich people are still able to manage their children who are disabled, but what about people who are not so rich and how and are poor? So these things have to be kept in mind. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. David Smith, my question for you, how will AI impact the global workforce in terms of job displacement and job creation? And what strategies can be implemented to ensure a smooth transition for affected workers?
Well, Sharif, there's a lot of places where AI will both create jobs, it will enhance jobs, which is where it's going to do in most instances, and it will displace some. A couple of the places where we're already seeing displacements are in areas such as law, where you're having to go through massive amounts of past paperwork, past rulings, past things, where AI can just do it better and it can remember it all. Same thing in accounting, where it's looking for patterns and answering on patterns. We're actually now beginning to see AI begin to be used in the software creation process quite a bit. I even recently, we were having a difficulty with some things, and I dusted off some of my old programming skills from literally decades ago, applied a little bit of AI to it, and wrote a decent assembly language program to solve a problem we were having just by using AI as an extension to what I knew and an updater for me. So you're going to see AI actually beginning to displace and surely complement a lot of them. I was very interesting to see that schools like MIT, really Berkeley out in California, some of the other Purdue and others are actually having problems placing software engineers with advanced degrees after graduation because of the influence of AI, particularly in entry-level jobs. Now, advanced jobs, AI cannot do it yet. But entry-level jobs, they can do a lot of that work. We're seeing AI make inroads in medicine and in healthcare and in science. Again, it doesn't have the creativity. It doesn't have a lot of the other tools like that. It doesn't have any social and emotional learning skills and others, even though that is getting a little bit better with some of the new models. But like I said earlier, the key to what you need to do there is you need to embrace lifelong learning. I encourage all of my development teams. I have now probably about 65, 70 developer engineers working with us. And I encourage each of them to constantly be taking classes, online classes, going online code schools, other things like that to stay up. The high half-life of information is getting shorter and shorter all the time. And we're beginning to see tools used all the time. I cannot tell you how many people I can detect because of the nuances of it using ChatGPT to write articles, to write papers. And they're pretty easy to pick out if they don't do a lot of extra work to it. But it's just all those changes. So that is some of the things you're going to see change there. Rob, I see you need to go soon.
Mr. Rob, my next question for you, what skill and competency will be most valuable in AI-driven economy, and how should education system evolve to prepare future generations for this change?
Well, so we begin with getting future generations introduced to AI early. A number of schools now are starting to, rather than treat AI like it's a cheat, treating it like it's a learning tool. And what AI can do is it can create curriculums that are particularly targeting the individual students. So in other words, you can create a very focused curriculum, self-generated testing, and the rest that will give the students something that will allow a level of focus that they don't get, particularly in K through 12 with overcrowded classrooms, and get them comfortable with how to use it, what its strengths are, what its weaknesses are. A lot of working with AI in this current generation is knowing how to prompt it. The more effective you are at prompting, the faster you can get the task done. And also you need to know where AI is strong and where AI is weak, so you know how to backstop it. These are critical skills. And I should point out, a lot of us are arguing that we should be using AI to teach kids really early critical thinking. We've got a massive problem with regard to critical thinking at the moment, and AI could be really performant on that. As far as long-term skills, the bridge skills will likely be the most valuable. People that understand AI and understand medicine, for instance, people that understand AI and understand automotive engineering, people that understand AI, but also understand communications and sales. These are people that will be able to help direct and train up these AI models, which, by the way, still cost around $100 million to spin up, and they can do it more effectively. More important, they'll know coming out of their various educational elements how best to use AI, where it is proficient, where it is performant, and where it is not. And finally, they'll be much more comfortable with the tool, and they're much more likely to avoid it or fight it. So because you don't want conflicts, you want everybody on board when it comes to deployment, and you want that deployment to work effectively and efficiently. And those people, much like we had years ago, where people that understood how to type got better chances at jobs, and people that understand how to use Office got better jobs, had better opportunities. The AI is the tool of the future, and learning how to use AI effectively will make a huge difference. We've already seen a number of startups now looking at using AI in entertainment, looking at AI heavily in terms of medicine because of the lack of doctors with certain proficiencies, and the people that can help bridge those skill sets, that can help spin up the doctors and help spin up the AIs to help those doctors and understand what is needed so the products can be created and properly focused. Those will be the jobs of tomorrow. And sorry, I have to run my wife over to the dentist. She's having a tooth pulled today, and I've got to drive. So see y'all later.
Thank you. Mr. Donald, my next question for you: how can AI be leveraged to enhance workplace productivity without compromising employees' well-being? And what role will human AI collaborate play in this process?
Well, it's going to vary depending on what task that you're trying to do. I mean, AI isn't necessarily one thing. So if you like, Rob just mentioned law, and so for an instance in law, AI right now has done things like write briefs with citations that are imaginary. It just makes them up. And so the judges have looked at this and said, well, what? This is ridiculous. But it's important, I think, to know the limitations of it. What David said about lifelong learning, I think, I kind of put it in a different way, but AI has the ability to make you be able to be lazy. I have an acquaintance who's gone now, but his name is Doug Engelbart, and he invented the GUI, so the graphical user interface. And when I talked to him, he really didn't like the way it turned out, because it turned computers into almost like microwave ovens or something, where you just punch the buttons and it does things for you. And his whole goal was to use it to enhance human intelligence, or enhance what we could do. So he thought GUIs should be complicated to use. He thought they were something that you should really need to learn to use, so you could be doing things like tensor analysis and things like that, which are a lot more difficult to do by hand. And that was his idea, enhancing human intelligence. And we've touched on that in the discussions here. But human beings are pretty conservative. So I've been seeing a lot of extremely well written, very good English articles from people I know don't actually speak English that well, and it's obvious when you look at it that it was generated by AI. And in a sense, that kind of is the opposite of learning. It allows people to be lazy instead of being able to be to enhance what they're doing. So within human beings, we like to solve problems and we feel satisfied when we do something that other people appreciate. Human beings, we have to help each other in order to exist. I mean, no person can do everything that's necessary. You can't grow your own food and build your own house and blah blah blah, make your own cell phone. It just we all work together, and to the extent that in any organization that you can have people have people be valuable, that's going to keep people engaged and happy. So it's kind of a push-pull, because a lot of people are basically lazy, and when you learn something new, sometimes it's difficult because you have to unlearn something that you already knew was true, and that's disconcerting. It makes reality shaky. And so a lot of people like to avoid that as much as possible. And AI does give you the ability to start avoiding that. So we have to ask ourselves the question, how can we develop a situation where people do what David is talking about and continue to learn? Because it's those steps, like I said with Einstein, looking at things, the same thing in a different way. So there are routine tasks, I think, that it's pretty easy to do, to see how AI can really solve those tasks. I mean, one thing I've been doing is I told wasn't ChatGPT, it's anyway, to speak to me in Spanish, and I gave it a little safe word, so to speak, where I could ask it to define terms for me, but otherwise I can have conversations about different things to practice my Spanish. I mean, there's an incredible amount of different things that you can do with an organization, but AI isn't going to change the fact that human beings like to feel that they've accomplished things, and the signal that they've really accomplished things is the relationship that they have with other people and the feedback that they're going to get from that. And so it's not at a higher level, it's not going to change anything, because human beings are, we just work the way we work, and that's kind of not going to change.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Dr. Tamanna, my next question for you. What ethical consideration must organizations address when implementing AI system in the workplace, particularly regarding transparency, bias, and worker privacy?
Yes, Dr. Sharif. What I feel is that there are, because for example, one aspect would be that for example, women are more open, as in like into entering into workforce, even in developing world. So I mean, the whole issue of sexual harassment should be monitored in a big way, because till the time that doesn't happen, women will not feel safe, and most of them would be in low laying professions. I mean, to be a person of a high high reputed job would be a difficult thing for them. And then another thing is that, for example, animal animals, for example, play a crucial role in our ecosystem. So they lead to forming an intricate web of life. So, as sentient beings, they deserve not only respect but our vigilant attention to bring welfare. So, animals have to be treated with respect, and we have seen, for example, I mean, I can always speak from the Indian context. Many times, there have been cultural festivals where animals have been brutally, they've faced brutal force, and they've hurt themselves so much. So as human beings, we need to understand that we have to keep animals safe and protected. So as far as the future of it's not just about about jobs gained, but it's also about jobs created. And ethicality of the whole thing would be when we are able to just we are able to create more jobs from AI rather than reducing the jobs. So ethicality is that, and morality and ethics are something which probably are certain values which are central to human beings of all civilizations. Religion, for example, is something which focuses on morality. So I mean, that has been taught to us from way back, during the Plato, Greek times, and for India during the Vedic times. So morality and ethics have been central to us. So human beings have to train the AI to help them assess what is moral and what is not moral. And accordingly, ethics at workplace, ethics at home, how much help we can have from these things need to be seen. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. David Smith, my last question for you. How will AI reshape leadership and organizational structures, and what qualities will define successful leaders in the age of AI? And what's your closing remarks for today's session?
Sharif, great question. For leadership, AI should become a tool. As I have said, actually probably a couple of times before now, one of the places where AI has the challenges is how can it work with the soft skills? How can it work with the areas of being empathetic? How can it look at how it can work more with people? A leader's job is just that, it's leading. And many of the soft skills like creativity and critical thinking are ones that leaders need to exercise a lot. Now, AI as a tool to help leadership, 1000%. But it's a balancing act there. And you will see that. The days to where we will have a AI CEO, I think, are still way in the future for most places, particularly when you begin to understand how it's going to be used across this really rapidly changing landscape where strategy and policy and leadership is so very, very important. And, we need to look at place, and this leadership area you're talking about is one where we have to shape the future of these companies. We have to shape the future of society and of our nations, where AI can enhance human capabilities and can supplement humans where it's dangerous or difficult, particularly with some of the robotics like Rob and I were talking about earlier. But it also needs to be looked at in a way where AI can be more engaging with us and more proactive in what we're doing. And the future leadership needs to be able to embrace these elements. And as we develop it through our continuing movement towards more advanced AI, that has to be one of the goals. So Sharif, thank you for letting me be part today.
Dr. Tamanna, what's your closing remarks for today's session?
Yes, actually, what I would like to say is that, AI and humans are now there to be there for long time to be before we develop more sophisticated technology. So I guess both AI and human beings can help each other, in developing a society which is more, conducive to living, which is something which which has ethics into it, which has which can distinguish between what is ethical and what is not ethical. So many of these things are there, and for example, as I was talking about animals, so I guess we need to understand that animals do have rights, and there are vegans and many of these people who are talking about it, but AI has to properly look into this. For example, in India we see a lot of cows, for example, being hurt, or horses being hurt, or for example, bulls, etc. So I guess we need those kind of technologies like AI, which can provide proper medical aid, as well as a thriving environment for these animals to have and live in peace. So I guess we need to understand that, and we all are a small society. The world is a small society, and so are the animals and everybody. We all are a part of the same earth, so we need to respect each other, and the respect and reciprocity is something which is central to our being. And I guess that is the focus of AI and human beings working together. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I request all of our audience, please share our content as much as possible with the government agency, corporation, and academia. And besides that, World Talent Economic Forum Institute, we do collaborate with IBO, with Mr. David Smith. So we have a solutions for business incubation centers. We have solutions for healthcare and data centers. So definitely those who are interested, they directly can communicate with Mr. David Smith or through World Talent Economic Forum. Hopefully through this process, we can uplift our emerging economy with modern science, engineering, and technology. Thank you, Dr. Tamanna. Thank you, Professor David Smith, for your continuous support for World Talent Economic Forum. Thank you. Bye-bye and take care.